Good afternoon, South Aiken faculties and staff. This is my professional development video that I'm covering with you all with a lot of information. Bear with me. There's a lot that I need to make sure we cover with you all for this upcoming 2024-25 school year. First of all, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited about this school year. Once again, my name is Sam Full. I'm the principal here at South Aiken. If you haven't met me, I would like to introduce myself. And now let's get to it. Now, at South Aiken, we've talked a lot about all means all, every thoroughbred, every day, all means all. But for the South Aiken faculty and staff, I introduced this last year, the South Aiken Power Five, and I will hit it and hit it and hit it and hit it and hit it again this year to where it becomes something that's ingrained in us and we understand how that process works and who we are as South Aiken, and what is important to us. So, hitting our Power Five, we have 5 different areas. First and foremost will always be safety and security. Safety and security will always be number one. Nobody cares about how much a student can learn, how well somebody has taught, what goes on throughout the school day if the kids and if you all aren't safe and secure. All of that goes out of the window in an unsafe and secure environment. So that's always going to be number one on our list. I will hit that later on. I'm going to end where I began. But number one is always going to be safety and security. Even though I'm not going to cover it first, it is an area of priority that we cannot overlook. Second area is student-centered learning. You will see as we go forward that I will highlight, capitalize, underline learning. Learning is our number 2 priority. What do we want to make sure? We want to make sure our students are learning. Okay, it's not as important for us to teach. It's important for them to learn. We are the content subject area experts. It does us no good as a faculty and staff to know the information. It is about them learning the information. And you all have a unique talent that I talked about before in regards to taking a student coming to your classroom on day one, and for lack of a better word, they are ignorant to your content. If they are in English 4, English 2, Algebra 1, they have not seen that content before, or they haven't seen most of it before. And your job is to take them from ignorant to proficient in 90 days. That's a unique skill set that I think you all need to understand how valuable you are in that ability to do that in a period of 90 days. Next is advisory enhancement, making sure that we're providing students with actionable feedback, advisement for them to be successful moving on later on in life and throughout high school. So advisory enhancement is our number 3. Number 4, positive relationships and high expectations. We want to have positive relationships with each other, with our students, with our peers, with our stakeholders. We want to have positive relationships and set high expectations for them to where they are reaching and achieving a higher bar than what they expected for themselves to have. Okay. And we do that through relationships, through caring, and they know that, you know what, if I want to impress them because they care about me. You hear the old adage, nobody knows how much you care, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. It's that same thing. Then last up, which is not least, but last up is professionalism excellence. We have to be pros. This is our job. This is how we make our money. This is how we support our family. This is what we raised our hand and chose and said that we are going to do. The students are the only individuals responsible and are required to be here by law on a day in, day out basis. They are the ones that are required to be here. They're the ones whose parents can go to jail. They're the ones who can have a different placement. We as professionals, we as adults, teachers, admin, counselors, custodians, we don't have to be here. We are making a choice, and we have to perform that choice with professionalism and with excellence, holding ourselves to a high standard as well. Now, our learning objectives is we want to make sure you provide an overview of South Aiken guidelines of performance that will help clarify teachers' professional responsibilities. We're going to make sure that you all are clear on your responsibilities as teachers, and we're going to reiterate those things. One thing I am not a micromanager. Okay, I'm not a micromanager. It's not something I enjoy doing. I have better things to do with my time. To micromanage you. You all are professionals. We chose to do this job. All right. So let's talk about how it looks to do that job and do it at a high level. So first off, professionalism. Workouts is 7:45 to 3:45. Please limit your Monday and Friday absences, bookending them to a weekend. Okay. Please limit those. Okay. That puts a tremendous strain on us as a school. All right. We got 2 weeks in October, 2 weeks of spring break, 2 weeks of Christmas. All those things are there, and multiple days as far as when opportunities to handle some things may need to handle outside of school. So please do your best. Again, be a pro and make sure we're at work 7:45 to 3:45. Wednesdays are an exception. We have some professional development days, which we'll talk about as well. All right, but hold yourself to a high standard, and we'll discuss this further on Friday, 7:45 through 45. Let's be a professional about that. Next up, collective commitments and quarterly observations. Last year, we introduced the learning objective as a required piece of our instruction and the agenda. Again, you see learning is bold, capitalized, and underlined. It's about student learning. And that success criteria is in there because what evidence, what proof do we have that the students learned what we wanted to learn? We identify that through our success criteria. And then an agenda. Make sure our agenda is up there, prominently displayed. And here was on the next slide talking about it. The learning objective includes our success criteria. It is displayed prominently, verbally stated. It is rigorous. It is aligned with our standards. It is relevant and is revisited throughout the lesson. Begin with the end in mind. We want the student to prove and demonstrate that they learned this bit of information, this process, this procedure at the end of class or at the end of a segment. How do we know they learned it? By helping them understand this demonstrates successfully learning this learning objective. And that success criteria is important. And then next up, the agenda. Prominently displayed, a minimum of 2 transitions between student tasks, assessments, and aligned to the learning objective, and tasks elicit evidence aligned to the learning objective. Now, when we talk about transitions, this year we had the opportunity with our early dismissal to provide more PD and feedback, and we have an instructional coach. We want to welcome Dr. Woolley to South Aiken High School. 90 minutes for those who are new to the teaching process can be an extended amount of time, can be a lot of time. All right. And we have to learn how to break that time up effectively and then bring those students back, break it up, bring those students back. And that's a process that again, we're in year 2 of block schedule, do not expect perfection, but that's something that we want to make sure we're doing is providing those transitions within that class period, a minimum of 2. Now, I'm not going to belabor this point in regards to the components of a learning objective, behavior, condition, criteria. There's some more information in here in regards to it, and we have some examples that you can go back and review and ask yourself these questions. When you're writing your learning objectives, does it have a behavior? Does it have a condition? Does it have a criteria? And if you want support with that, we have an instructional coach that we can help provide that support, coach through that process, and sit with you side by side. So, like I said, I'm not going to belabor that point, but when we talk about learning objectives, let's make sure we're looking at how we can include that success criteria, ensuring that students know from the outset what they need to do to experience and demonstrate success and to demonstrate that they have learned what you wanted them to learn. All right. Now, admin will be conducting 20 observations per quarter per administrator. These can be partial or full observations. The focus this year, again, is on student learning, student-centered learning. We'll be using the Elliott coaching tool. We started last year with domains D and E, the active learning environment. Progress monitoring is E, and feedback. When you get those observations, you will receive face-to-face feedback from admin. And then these observations can also include if you are on a summative evaluation, your Psycholine Teacher Standards 4.0. It can include induction or it can include a recertification observation. Once again, our focus is on student learning, students doing the work, participating in academic conversations. There's instructional coaching available. I use this example a lot. Last year, I went in to observe an SRV math class, which is our lowest level math class for students who need support trying to go into Algebra 1. And the teacher was encouraging the students to talk, asking them questions, and the students were providing crickets. This was a 9th grade Algebra 1 class, a 9th grade SRV math class. We left that class, and this was in week 2 in our instructional blitz. We left that class and went to an Algebra 1, not to an Algebra 1, to an AP Calculus AB class. Again, in week 2, those students were engaging in academic conversations, asking each other thoughtful questions, providing each other feedback. We want to see the students doing the work in all levels of classrooms. And again, not expecting perfection, but that's what we want to try and get to, where the students are doing the work. The students should be exhausted when they leave your class because they've been talking, because they've been working, because they've been putting forth the effort, and they have learned and they've talked to each other and had good academic feedback for each other. And we want to work towards that process more and more and more day in and day out. All right. So moving on. Schoology lesson plans and website. There is no requirement to post and or submit your lesson plans unless you are under formal Psycholine Teacher Standards 4.0 evaluation. So nobody else is required to submit lesson plans, but if you're on those evaluations, that is part of your evaluation process. Schoology. All teachers are required to use Schoology to list assignments and assignment due dates. Some of them informative. All right. No requirement for Schoology use beyond this. No requirement for Schoology use to create assignments or have students submit assignments in Schoology. But you must make sure that you are listing assignments and assignment due dates, because some teachers use Schoology more than others, and we want to make sure that everybody's going to the same place. Teacher websites include a professional photo, introduction, your contact information, the courses you teach, your syllabus, your win time hours, and a link to your Schoology page. If you have questions with that, you can see your department heads or people within your departments. There are a lot of people who know how to do this stuff well. Make sure you utilize them. Continuing on with this, there is a new website platform, and it is Aptity, and it's through Thrillshare. Remind 101 is no more. We are not using Remind 101. I know a lot of you used to send messages out, things like that, to your students, to your parents through Remind. Aptity has replaced it. It is free. They can communicate back and forth with you. There are multiple different methods. And I know it's a new platform. Don't expect you to know how to use it inside and out on day 1 of school. But we're not using Remind anymore. Here we go. Grades. All right. We talked about this last year. And I want to ask this question. What message is being communicated to students and parents through students' grades? Okay, may I say that question again? What message is being communicated to students and parents through a student's grades? I don't expect an answer, but that's going to be a question that we're going to revisit throughout the year. Okay, so now as you look at the weights, summative is going to be 70%. Formative is going to be 30%. And this is standardized district-wide. These weights will be pushed out into your grade book for you at the district level, and it will be the same in every school, high school in Aiken County. Summative, you have to have a minimum of 5 per quarter. Formative, you have to have a minimum of 9 grades per quarter and a maximum of 27 per quarter. Okay? You have to have the same number of summative assessments within your PLCs, and they created and utilized together through your PLCs. common summative assessment, common final exams. We're going to talk about that later on as we get throughout the year. But just know that there are classes that have those common final exams. And then feedback and retakes. So again, what message is being communicated to students and parents through a student's grades? We're looking at this number because we want quality feedback, because the focus is once again on what? Student learning. Same number of formative assessments within PLCs, okay? And the purpose of formative is to gauge student readiness for the summative, to help monitor and adjust your instruction, and to provide feedback on instructional effectiveness. Formative is to help guide your instruction. We talked about the success criteria prior to. That success criteria helps us elicit evidence that students are learning what we want them to learn. And we should be able to collect that through our formative assessments. Formative assessments don't have to be extensive. I'm not saying you got to be 5 questions, 10 questions, 100 questions. Formative assessments are to help monitor instruction, provide you with feedback on student learning, and what's effective in your instruction. One of the interview questions that I ask in every single teacher interview is you give an assessment to your students, and a significant number of students fail that assessment. What is your reaction? What is your thought? All right. Those of you all, so remember that, and you remember that instructional question. Every single one of those interviews and people that I've hired have said, I need to look at what I could do better. I didn't say that. That's what everybody said in their interviews. And I have copies of those interviews back here in my files. I can go back and pull up where each one of you said that piece. Okay. So this is to help us get feedback and see how we can improve student learning. Make sure we're updating our grade books weekly and accurately. Make sure we're updating our grade books weekly and accurately. All right. So if you count that up, 5 plus 9 is a total of 14 grades in your grade book. All right. That's the minimum we require. That's not a lot. Okay. That's not a lot. But minimum of 14 grades, 5 summative, 9 formative. Okay. Maximum 27 formative. Okay. You can go above 5 per quarter, but just a minimum of 5. All right. If you look on this page, please make sure you are accurately inputting the category. Use 2 categories, summative, formative, and then a description of that assignment. I provided 2 examples so you can see. One, if I had to meet with a parent, or one of my APs had to meet with a parent and try to justify a student's grades, the one at the bottom, I can't really tell what's going on, okay? Versus the one at the top, okay? Your student got this grade on the Europe quiz. This is summative. It's going to count for within the 70%. Okay, so make sure we're using those descriptions, using those icons that say if assignment's missing. So sometimes we can address things without even having to come to you and help with that process. All right, keep on moving on. Credit recovery, okay, and parent communication. Grades are not considered final until quarter 4 is complete. All right, so even though we're on a semester schedule, grades are still not considered final until quarter 4 is complete. However, credit recovery will be offered to any student who fails a quarter, and they will be able to recover a 60. That's when the quarter's finished, they can do credit recovery through Edmentum. But like I talked about in the previous slides, we have redo retake options. We want to give feedback, and the goal is for student learning. All right, and let's again ask that question. What are we communicating through our grades? What are we communicating to students and parents? Credit recovery is available through Edmentum, and we'll provide PD on that later. Please, 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 please. Again, we're talking about being a professional. Communicate with parents or parents of students who failed a quarter each quarter. It should not be a surprise to a parent that their student failed your class for the semester. And then when you come out communication, there needs to be some feedback. Just send an email and saying I sent them something. Get some feedback. Make a phone call. Everybody has the ability to make phone calls through your laptop, through Teams. So you can make phone calls from your class. You don't have to wait and go to a teacher's lounge to make a phone call. You can make a phone call in your class. If you need support in making phone calls, Okay. You can contact an administrator, you can contact our instructional coach, and we can help you with that process of making phone calls. But we have to, and teachers understand this. Parents want to hear from you. Okay. They want to hear from you about, because, and you all will know better than anybody else how a student is doing and why they're performing this way. Communication on the front side, well, I'm telling you, make your life easier on the back side. There's a teacher that's still in this building who we sat down, we talked about communicating what the expectations are, having parents sign off on that stuff. And since that teacher has done that process, I've been able to back them up routinely when a student or a parent comes and says, well, why is my child's grade this? Sir, ma'am, she sent you this. She sent this home. They've done this process, blah, blah, blah. That communication level is there. And when they come to me, all I do is lay it out. So the more you communicate, the more you document, the more you have those conversations with parents, I'm telling you, it will make your life easier on the backside. We could say, well, they should know better. Let's help make that guarantee known. All right. Absence and assignment policy, pages 31 and 32 of the handbook, student handbook. All right. Again, we got the 70 and the 30 right there. 70% summative, 30% formative. Students are responsible for missing their own work in absence in school. Now, just talking about different excused and unexcused absence. All right, if they're unexcused, put a 0 in. But if they have an excuse, if they miss your class, put a 0 in. I will say this over and over again. If they miss your class, doesn't matter, because you don't know if it's excused or unexcused, put the 0 in. All right, because what we don't want is we don't want you to leave that category blank for an assignment, and you leave it blank, you leave it blank, you leave it blank, and that kid makes 90s and 100s on everything else, but they missed 5 days of school, and that category is blank, and then we get to the end of the quarter, we get to the end of the semester, and you say, well, they haven't turned the work in, let me put these zeros in. Now all of a sudden they went from an A to a C student, and everybody's wondering why. Put the zeros in so they have an accurate representation of what their grade will look like if they don't turn that assignment in. Okay? Same thing, redo, retake policy. Okay? We want students to demonstrate that they have learned. All redo, retake opportunities must be preceded by the students receiving tutoring and support during win time or another scheduled time. All right, please, 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 let's have the mindset that we're going to support students here, okay? Be proactive in encouraging students to improve academic performance and attendance win time. Communicate with the student, communicate with the parent. Let them know that they're missing this. Let them know their grade is that piece. Talk to them, have them sign off on something, send something home. Because then with that documentation, with that communication, there's no surprises. And you will get more bees with that honey than with that stick. All right. And remember, once again, our focus is on what? Student learning. Now, moving on to advisory enhancement and homeroom advisory stables. We said that was our third priority is advisory enhancement. You see the definition of what a stable is based on, and we are doing homeroom based on cohorts. We have rolled up homerooms as best we can. We know we can't do it one for one, but we rolled up homerooms as best we can. As you can see, class 25 and 2027 are both cardinal. 26 and 28 are both gold. Okay, we want to increase the effectiveness of our guidance and administrative teams, our school counseling, not guidance, school counseling and administrative teams to promote visibility and availability. And again, that positive relationships and high expectations. We are doing that through our stables, doing that through our home rooms. But why do we put so much emphasis on what happens in those home rooms? We'll talk about that in a second. We meet weekly on Thursdays between first and second block. We want to build a positive relationship with each of your students. Speak to them. Ask them how they're doing in class. Ask them how their attendance is. If you notice a pattern in their attendance, please let us know. Let the counselor know. Let the admin know. You see a student miss your class 3 days in a row, let us know. All right? On a sidebar, on a tangent, if we keep students in school, we can get them graduate, we can get them passed. The biggest issue we run into with students not graduating and dropping our graduation rate are 10-day drops. All right, 10-day drops. Let us know sooner rather than later that a student has missed your class, and then let us help you try to address that. We can get students graduate, we can get them promoted if they're in school. So help with that process, whether it be in your class or in your homeroom. You see a pattern, let us know. Okay. Now, advisory enhancement, and I make the slide differently. There's a reason why we put such an emphasis on this being the third one in advisory enhancement. Studies have shown over and over and over and over again, students experience success and are more likely to experience success in school if they have one trusted adult. We would love for that trusted adult to be a parent, but that is not always reality. All right. We have a group that is at USC Aiken on Tuesday and Wednesday, getting trained on capturing kids' hearts, because we're trying to help people to make those connections, bridge those relationships between students and adults. Okay, to give students that trusted adult that can possibly help change the trajectory of their life and give them support. Now, attendance, behavior, ABCs, attendance, behavior, course, performance, and credits. All right. That's what's going to get us that's going to help us have success in the school year with students. If they're coming to school, they're performing well, and they're passing the classes, we've achieved what we needed to. But for a lot of students, a fair number of students, before we can get to that first ABC of attendance, behavior, and course performance and credits, we have to have them have an agency, advocating for themselves. And we have to help them sometimes. So we have to help some of those students with that process, believing in themselves, believing that they can be successful in school, and then making connections so that they feel that they are connected to South Aiken, connected to their teacher, connected to their peers, connected to success in this building. We're still continuing forth to that two-student process, identifying 2 students in your class that you're saying, you know what, I'm going to just do just a little bit extra to see if I can move them off the bubble. But again, we want to have actionable results in our advisory. All right. Now, safety briefing. Okay. We said first off in our Power 5, safety and security is number 1. I asked this question of the admin team a lot. What can we do as an administration to remove things that take away from our bottom line from our teacher schedule, from our teacher's workload? And a lot of times people say, well, duty. Duty is a non-negotiable. Duty is number 1. Okay. Being visible, being within eyesight, students seeing those teachers in the hallways, on duty, in the courtyard, in the cafeteria. That is number 1. We have to perform duty. We have to be on time to duty. We have to be vigilant in duty and in the hallways. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference. All right. We have seen the 6th straight year of reduction in discipline referrals and suspensions and all of that. We've seen 6 straight years of reductions. We have seen a 61.4% reduction in referrals from my first year's principal to last year. All right. And we can continue to do that. Now, but it starts with being visible. It starts with being those professionals. It starts with duty, making sure we're providing a safe, secure environment. Make sure you're updating your seating charts in Power School. Classroom doors should be locked and closed at all times. Door coverings, we have those in the event of emergency, and they can only be used in the event of an emergency. Okay? Do not keep your doors covered. All right. We will have weapons detectors, and a lot of you all saw this last year. We would do random security checks, and there will be routine security checks where we'll bring your classroom out into the hallway, walking through the weapons detectors. We bring the dogs in routinely for drug dogs to search parking lots and vehicles, classrooms. We do big searches, we do little searches, but we are going to conduct security checks routinely and randomly throughout the year. That is something we do. It's not to say that we're trying to catch something. It's not to say that things are going bad. We are operating in the mindset that the more we are visible, the more we are vigilant, the more we are checking, the less behavior we have to deal with the backside, because people know that things can, that students know that we could do things at any time. Okay. If you see a student opening an exterior door, please write them up. You don't know their name, let the administrator know. We'll find out who they are. Okay, I've sent you all videos all throughout last year. I say, hey, can you identify the student? You see a student opening an exterior door, let us know. That is a safety hazard. Okay, that is a safety hazard. You see the opening an exterior door to go out to let somebody in with food or something like that, let us know. We'll deal with it. Take an attendance. You'll see Miss Slater's video. Make sure you're taking attendance in the first 15 minutes of class. Audio enhancement lanyards. You must wear your lanyard. Now, I understand some of you say you have teacher voice. Totally understand that. Not taking anything away from you. I'm a loud guy as well. Okay. So you have teacher voice, and you don't want to turn it on. All right. I would like for you to turn it on, but I'm not gonna mandate that yet. But you have to wear your lanyard. The lanyards are a security measure. Okay. When you press that alert button, and God forbid we have to press that alert button, it is a security measure to let us know we're in major situations and circumstances. So I don't know. I hope I'm still recording. In major situations and circumstances. And what I mean by major, I mean there's possibly going to be a loss of life. Officer Wallace needs to come running to your classroom with his weapon drawn. Okay. The student doesn't want to put their cell phone on, do not hit that emergency button. Student want to exit your class, student doesn't want to get out of their desk, do not hit that emergency button. Hit the green button on your wall. A student cussed in the hallway, you don't know who they are, don't hit that emergency button. Two situations. There's an imminent loss of life situation. You need Officer Wallace to come running to your classroom with his weapon drawn. That's it. Okay. Everything else, use the green button. We'll get there. We're going to be coming. Okay. But we've got to make sure we keep that lanyard on, use it, charge every night, and only press the alarm button if there is an emergency situation that meets those two requirements. All right. And just know that the lanyard, audio enhancement lanyards were a major investment for Aiken County Public School District in regards to safety. So we got to make sure we're hitting that. Okay. Other policy procedures, real quick. Lockers are available by request only for $5. All other fees must have been paid. We don't advertise as a student. If they ask, we do provide that option. Field trips and fundraisers. Again, Ms. Spencer produced a video. We covered a lot of that stuff in there. She'll be in the office from 11 to 1. Make sure you're hitting that 3-week timeline. Funding is available to start after school and Saturday school support. Please watch The Full Effect for more details. The Full Effect. Please make sure The Full Effect is our newsletter, it's my newsletter that provides important items of note. These are some of the things that are included in The Full Effect. Please read The Full Effect. Save yourself time, save me time. If you ask me a question and say, Mr. Fuller, where do I find the read to succeed information? All I'm going to do is forward you the Full Effect. Mr. Fuller, you send me an email. Mr. Fuller, what's the bell schedule for Monday? All I'm going to do is forward you the Full Effect. There won't be a response. There won't be a line. So save yourself time. It's a very informative document. It has a lot of information in there, and I believe it's well organized. Read that first before you ask a question. Okay? School Improvement Council, please stay tuned. Booster clubs. Make sure if you have a booster club, make sure you're getting that information to Ms. Spencer. Safe Schools videos. Make sure you're watching those. I know it can be a lot. All right. But we want to make sure we're doing that work. Positive relationships and high expectations. All right. We have to build those relationships, and we have to have expectations for our students and for ourselves. Okay. Now, once again, our Power 5. Safety and security. Student-centered learning. Learning is our focus. advisory enhancement, that being a trusted adult, purposely and intentionally inviting students and giving them feedback, positive relationships and high expectations, and then professionalism and excellence. All right. Mm. Oh, one thing, I'm gonna cover this real quick. Make sure you're seeing the admin, and I'll cover this again on Friday. See them for the things that are under their responsibility, under their purview. If you have something that you need, and they can provide it, make sure you're asking them those questions. And I had another thought, y'all, and it has skipped my mind. So I guess that means I need to stop the video. So thank you everybody for your time. The quiz is attached, and remember, it's every thoroughbred, every day, all means all.